I just got back from watching The Eternals. I haven't seen a lot of movies in the theater. I saw Nobody. I saw Dune. I saw Spiral, which was terrible. But yeah, I went to see this because I was out with some friends and we got lunch. And I thought, hey, what the hell? Let's go to the movies. The Eternals is playing, so we checked that out. And it was a really frustrating movie to watch. It's got a really dull look to it. That's the first thing you notice. It has that Man of Steel type of cinematography, which is kind of, I don't know, just kind of moody and depressing. And the action's quite dull, just CG monsters and people shooting gold lasers out of their hands. But what was really pissed me off is that there's some really good material in this movie. They the main story is they have to stop the birth of the celestial being and all that kind of stuff, and it's the least interesting thing in the movie. The most interesting thing is what's going on with three of the characters. One of them is perpetually in the body of a child, right? But they've been around for 7,000 years, so I mean they're not a child in their mind anymore, but they look like that forever, and so they don't get to experience adult life, like falling in love and living with someone and all that kind of stuff. And so her character is really interesting. And then there's another character that is what was his deal? Right. He has the ability to control other people's minds, but he doesn't because they're forbidden from interfering with human affairs. But he hates seeing humans kill each other, and so he knows that he could just stop all the violence in the world if he just controlled everyone's minds. And he eventually just leaves the team, I guess because he's sick of the way they're dealing with things. And he goes off and he kind of like starts a little civilization in the woods where he can control people whenever there's a problem. He's an interesting character because he's frustrated with the way they're doing things and his power could resolve it, but it's like in an unethical way because it's taking people's agency away from them. He's interesting. And the main chick, her Cersei, she's dull, but her situation is interesting because she is an Eternal and she's in love with this human guy played by Kit Harington from Game of Thrones. And like that's an interesting dramatic setup that they're in love and he wants her to move in with him, but she's going to live forever and he's going to grow old and die, so she doesn't want to do that to him. Like that's an interesting story right there. And so all three of those things are completely pushed to the side to make room for this big, convoluted, we are sent here to fight these CGI monsters for centuries or millennia and then make way for the birth of the celestial being that comes from the center of the earth. And do we stop it or do we let it happen or do we fight against each other and discovering the mystery and the truth? And it's all so dull and boring and tired when all I wanted was for them to focus on like the issues of individual characters, which they could have done. They could have taken out all that celestial crap and made a movie that was focused on Druig, the guy that can control people, make him turn into some kind of villain because he's controlling people to try to stop violence, and that's unethical, so maybe he almost becomes like a dictator, but he doesn't want to be a dictator. And then the girl who feels like she can never experience life and she resents her immortality, she could maybe like waver between the different sides of the conflict because maybe Druig offers her something. And then the girl who's she's got the boyfriend that's in love with her and wants to live with her, maybe he disappears from the movie completely, so maybe he could have been like, you get kind of like a role reversal where like he's the typical damsel in distress and his life is in danger and she has to choose between saving the man she loves or saving her family that she's been with for thousands of years. There's so many like good dramatic aspects you could have gotten from this story, but they just throw them all aside. And whenever one of these characters that actually has an issue to deal with actually shows up and does something, they have to spout a whole bunch of dialogue explaining their feelings and explaining everything they've been upset about. When we could have seen that. That could have actually been the movie. And yeah, so like it's worse than a movie being bad. It's when a movie actually has really good concepts in it that they just end up ignoring to give priority to some convoluted, boring sci-fi battle plot that no one cares about in the end. Yeah, so that was a total failure, but lunch was good, and I picked up a Ninja Turtle figure, Donatello, and that's pretty cool.